Hello and welcome to this special question and answer video on hollyhocks. You just got to love them, haven't you? They're so marvellous in the summer and such an array of colours. I planted a whole line of them along here. It's a real treat to sit and enjoy, and it's not just me enjoying them, it's all the birds as well and the bees that come into the garden too. Now I've searched Google once again to find the most asked questions about this quite towering plant. First of all, are hollyhocks frost hardy? Hollyhocks are fully hardy and have an RHS hardiness rating of H5. This means they're hardy for most parts of the UK to severe temperature and as low as minus 15 degrees Celsius, that's 5 degrees Fahrenheit of course. How big do hollyhocks grow? Well, these plants can be very tall, which makes them great for the back of borders and striking, thanks to their wonderful colouring as well. In garden designs, we use the phrase architectural plant. Sounds very swish, but they're big and they're spectacular. Look at little bees. Look at all the bees. They really love it. There are many varieties and they can grow between 1.8 and 2 metres tall. Some of the taller varieties reaching 2 metres include Hollyhock banana, great name that. Lovely double blooms in soft yellow, or Hollyhock Black Knight, which is a striking dark purple shade. Another question, are hollyhocks annuals, biennials or perennials? Well, hollyhocks can be either biennial or short-lived perennials. Now, perennial varieties should live for at least 3 years, but probably not many more after that. After which, of course, you've got to replace them with new ones. How long do hollyhocks flower for? Well, you can expect to enjoy the hollyhocks blooms between June through to September, maybe even a little bit later than that, so up to 12 weeks, which is a pretty good amount of flower colour. You get a lot of bang for your bucks, and as I mentioned earlier, and you can see behind me, the bees, they really love them. And the next question is, are hollyhocks good for bees? Well, speaks for itself. Bumblebees and various other pollinators really enjoy the pollen from hollyhocks.
Are hollyhocks drought tolerant? Yes, hollyhocks are drought resistant. They have a long taproot which helps the plant search for water underground whilst they bathe in their preferred sunny spots.
Another question, which garden style are hollyhocks best for? Well, they're regularly found in cottage garden styles. I love them. I plant them in mixed borders as well because they give that wonderful height. You can also look at planting them in more formal borders as well as you wish. I mean, the good thing about it is the height really sets the standard and it's perfect for garden borders and garden beds. Do hollyhocks need staking? Well, it's not essential for hollyhocks, but their height sometimes need. If you're in an exposed area, you can just use a bamboo cane or a twig or a stake just to hold them into position. Depends how big your hollyhocks are and how exposed the area is. How do you grow hollyhocks is another important question. And the first decision you'll need to make is which hollyhock would you like to grow? Because they come in a variety of jewel-toned colours. I love that word, jewel-toned. And they look so marvellous. So make sure you pick the hollyhock that matches your existing design if you've got colour designs in your garden. You can purchase them as seed, little plug plants, which means little baby plants that are young and you can grow on, or you can buy them as established plants and then plant them straight into the garden. Sunny site, sheltered position with plenty of fertile soil. You can dig in some well-rotted garden compost before planting, whether it's your own compost or something that you've bought. It always makes the soil so good and healthy. And plant your pot-grown hollyhocks in spring or in autumn. I wouldn't plant them any closer than 60 centimetres apart because they become quite big plants. And if you have bought plug plants, first grow them in 10 centimetre pots, something similar to that, to establish themselves. So they've created a bit of a root system before you plant them out. And of course, water those young hollyhock plants, certainly for the first few months. They shouldn't need much fertilising once they've planted because they're great scavengers within them. But it's always good to put organic matter into the soil to help the health of the soil as well. Another good Google question, do hollyhocks flower in the first year? Well, if you grow your hollyhocks from seed, then you can expect really to see them flower properly in the second year. But if you buy your hollyhocks and plants from the garden centre in pots, I planted this one and it's flowered so well this year already. Are hollyhocks easy to grow? Well, you'll be pleased to know they're incredibly easy to grow. They particularly grow well from seed and they're fully hardy, so they don't require too much attention once they've grown and established themselves.
Do hollyhocks make good cut flowers? Yes, hollyhocks look great in tall, almost stately looking vases. Hollyhocks have a hollow stem, and when they are cut they can form an airlock, preventing the flower from absorbing water. To avoid this, cut the hollyhock at an angle and remove any lower leaves. Then turn the flowers upside down and fill the stems with some tepid water to keep that water in place. Hold your thumb over the cut piece and then put it into the vase, hoping not to let any air out. The trapped water helps to keep the stem strong and upright. If there is any air bubbles that have gone up the stem, by pushing a pin through the neck of the hollyhock, it can release that air and water can flow up. Another method, particularly popular in the US, is to sear the cut ends of your hollyhocks. The theory behind this is the hollyhocks produce a healing sap when cut, which stops the stem from taking up water. By searing, the sap is destroyed, allowing the plant still to take up water. However, I've never tried this method, and I find that the angle cutting method works particularly well.
Another good question, where do hollyhocks grow best? Well, these plants aren't very fussy about soil type and they tend to grow more or less anywhere. I've even seen them growing through cracks in the pavements or sidewalks for my viewers in the USA. For the best results, I would recommend that you plant them in fertile, well-drained soil if you can, and somewhere with plenty of sun as well. They do like a bit of sunshine. This will make sure they'll produce tall flower spikes and look really spectacular. A shelter position is also ideal as well, because remember they're tall blooms and they can get caught by the wind blowing the plants over. What colours do hollyhocks come in? Another very popular question. And as I've mentioned before, you can get hollyhocks in so many different bright jewel-like colours, including purples and pinks and reds and whites and yellows, and some shades of purple are so dark they look almost black. And of course you can get these bi-tone colours, as you can see just behind me here.
Can I grow hollyhocks in a pot? Yes, you can, though you need a deep pot for the hollyhocks to thrive. The deep taproot of the plant and its strong lateral roots mean that both height and width are important. But of course hollyhocks are very top heavy. Adding some stones or a couple of bricks at the bottom of the pot adds a bit more stability.
Do hollyhocks need a lot of water? Well, once they're established in the garden, they're great scavengers, but just make sure you water them during very, very dry spells. Or if the soil feels particularly dry to the touch, or you've just put your plants into the ground, you need that extra moisture there to get the plants established. How do you grow hollyhocks from seed? Well, sow your seeds indoor first in peat-free compost mid to late spring. You can sow them outdoors when you want to, but do this later on, say May, June time, and water them well in. And once you've got these seedlings established, you can then plant them out if you were planting them in pots indoors first. How long does it take for hollyhocks to germinate? Well, they don't take long. They don't. It's a really great seed to get the kids involved with, because you can see them germinate within 10 to 14 days of sowing. If they're in a warmer windowsill, maybe even before that. So pretty good to grow from seed.
Do you need to soak hollyhock seeds? This is an interesting question. There is evidence to suggest soaking the seeds can help. However, there's also evidence to suggest that by planting your hollyhock seeds in a tray of constantly moist, not wet, peat-free compost, they will grow. So perhaps try both methods and see what works best for you. When soaking your seeds, do so in warm water for 12 hours or overnight before sowing.
Another good Google question, do hollyhocks need deadheading? Good question. Well, first, when the flowers have faded, cut the flower spikes down right to the ground to dehead them rather than individual things. If you want to harvest the seed, of course, leave the flower heads on the plant. Do hollyhocks change in colour? Well, the original plant itself won't change colour, but you may find if seeds have fallen to the ground and establish themselves and then they grow back up because they've cross-pollinated with others, that there will be a change in colour for the new plants. Will hollyhocks flower twice? Well, if you deadhead your fading flowers, there's a very good chance that they will flower again in late summer. What do you plant with hollyhocks? Thanks to the great range of colours that the hollyhocks are available in, they will grow with many different types of plants that you can get. Also, they're not particularly fussy about growing conditions, which broadens your planting horizons even more. Some good flowering companions include lavender, beautiful, lupins and delphiniums. They really go well together. When should I harvest my hollyhock seed? Well, hollyhocks stop flowering September time, depending on the season, and once the flower heads have dried out, you can harvest your seed from early autumn. Now, it's really September through to early October. As you can see here, some of the seeds already setting into position here with the ones behind. Another question, how do I know when my hollyhock seeds are ready to harvest? Well, you'll find that the pods forming at the base of the drying flowers, which are these ones just here, the petals will drop off, and once the pod has gone brown, you can check whether they're ready to harvest. The texture should be, pretty papery, and the seeds inside are dark brown when they're ready to collect. It's pretty clear when you get close to them. They always look like little coins, little disc-like seeds in there. When do hollyhocks start to grow back? Well, they start growing back in the springtime, of course, when the soil starts to warm, and you can expect to see them flower from July onwards. Do hollyhocks self-seed? Well, as I mentioned before, they're very good at producing young plants at the bottom as the seeds fall off, or the birds collect them and drop them. That's how come you see them in between the sidewalks and pavements. They're just grown in any nook and cranny they can. They're pretty tough. Once the seed heads mature, they'll burst and scatter the seeds around your garden border. So if you want to prevent this from happening, you deadhead your hollyhocks as they finish flowering. Otherwise, let them fade on the plant and harvest your seeds before they burst.
What do you do with hollyhocks after flowering? As a very hardy plant, hollyhocks don't need too much special care during the cold winter months. Just remove the dead heads and discard any plants that have suffered from rust.
Where are hollyhocks native to? Hollyhocks are native to China and East Asia. They have had some relevance to ancient Japanese culture as well. Hollyhocks are associated with prayers for the abundance in Japan, and one of the largest festivals in Kyoto is the Hollyhock Flower Festival. What are the common problems with hollyhocks and how do you fix them? Well, rust fungus is quite a severe problem for hollyhocks. You'll notice it with orange-brown spots on the stems and leaves, which may cause the leaves to die and fall from the plant. If the stem becomes severely infected, the whole plant could die. To treat this, remove and destroy infected leaves as soon as you notice them, and take them and clear them right out of the garden. Don't put them in the compost heap, put them in the wheelie bins to go. What are the common pests for hollyhocks? Well, the main pests for hollyhocks are slugs, snails, caterpillars, and occasionally flea beetles. Caterpillars won't harm the plant, but if you don't want them damaging the hollyhocks, look for them on the underside of the leaves at dusk, and generally you can just take them and remove them. Otherwise, you can hide damaged foliage with shorter plants in front of your hollyhocks, which will really disguise the damage that's at the base of the plant itself. How do I stop slugs and snails from eating hollyhocks? Well, you could be patient and go out at night and find them and pick them up and take them somewhere else, and simply remove them from the plant and put them in another part of the garden. Or you can scatter natural deterrents like dried eggshells or grit around the base of the hollyhocks. They're not completely slug proof, but they won't like moving over those sharp texture on the ground. You can grow garlic nearby as a good option to keep slugs away. Garlic contains a compound that repels slugs, so naturally it will keep them at bay.
How can I use companion planting to protect my hollyhocks? For cottage garden design fans, then slugs and snails struggle with plants that are woody. So most trees and woody shrubs, plants with herb-flavoured leaves like rosemary, lavender, salvia and agastache and teucrium, and plants with more tactile leaves such as Artemisia, helichrysum and stachys are a good choice. To slow down caterpillars, garlic, rosemary, peppermint will all produce strong scent, which can repel them from your hollyhocks. If you are growing hollyhocks as part of a potage garden, then strongly scented plants such as catnip, sage, mint, hyssop, planted close by, are known deterrents to flea beetles, whilst keeping in with your garden design. So not only will you have your hollyhocks to enjoy, but you also have an array of plants that look great together too.
Are hollyhocks considered to be poisonous to humans? No. Hollyhocks are considered safe and non-poisonous to humans. There have been a small numbers of report of skin irritation, but this is not that common. Are hollyhocks edible? Well, that's a fair question. All parts of hollyhocks are edible. The blossom can be eaten raw, but they may taste a little bit bitter. It may be a nice option as a garnish on a salad, or you can crystallise the petals with sugar and add them as decorations onto your baked goods. Are hollyhocks poisonous to pets? Well, no, hollyhocks are not poisonous to any pets. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video insightful. They're such beautiful plants. They're impressive and they're striking and they're perfect for the garden. They're easy to grow. They stand tall at the back of the borders and they're in so many different shades of colour. They put a smile on my face. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more free content like this. Please remember also to switch on your notifications so I can notify you on the latest exciting videos.